Hey garden friends, welcome to Flower Patch. We are in the greenhouse again because there's just way too much snow outside to do anything. But I enjoy being in here. Even if it is chilly, you'll be able to see my breath fogging up things. So today I wanted to update you on my overwintering of my sweet potato vines. And here are two of them that made it. A lot of them succumbed to spider mites. I struggle with those, especially on these. Now, I don't know, a lot of other plants I have in the house and they don't succumb, but these do. So they're very sensitive to that. And the spider mites seem to go right for these. Anyways, I have a couple that I was able to keep sprayed off. I would keep spraying them with water. And they're coming along. This one I just took a cutting from a couple weeks ago. And this is it, and I rooted it. You see how the long roots? So I've got another one coming. And I've been watering. I have these in my studio cottage where I paint. So I'm thinking it'll put on some more growth here, and I can take some more cuttings and have more. So as long as I get a couple to survive, I'm good, because then I can take cuttings. In fact, I can take a cutting from this one and root it, and I will do that. I will pot this one up, and we'll do that right now. And then I'll take a cutting from the other one to put in that container of water. Now for these, I do like a taller pot because I can get all those roots down into it. Looks like I might need to get some more potting soil out. I got to put very little in there because I want to be able to set this down all the way in there so that all the roots are under the soil, and it's still a little too much. So just so you can see, if you can see down in there. And then I'll put this on it. Now this soil's very cold, so this thing may get mad at me for this because they do not like getting cold. But anyway, so let me see the water. Okay, that water's pretty tepid, so I'm going to use it to water it in. And I'm going to go ahead and I am going to get a little bit of organic rev. I always give my rooted or plants a shot of this, and it helps for root growth. Good root growth means great plant growth. You're supposed to mix a tablespoon or two to a gallon of water, but I'm just going to put it drop. Yeah, fine. And I have some more water over here that is not too icy cold. To fill, I told you in a previous video that my faucet in here freezes in the winter, and especially when it gets down in the 20s, which it has been at night. So I can't use it to get water. So let me see, we get a little more soil in there. It it did. It went down as I watered. Okay, so there's that. This will go back into my studio cottage on the windowsill where it was sitting on the drainage tray. And I will water this one, and then I'll take the cutting from it. So, well, I'll take the cutting from it, then water. Where's my little clippers? Here it is now. That's hopefully you can see. Yes, you can see. Right here is a leaf. It's looking a little scruffy, but that's okay. You know what? Maybe I'll take one higher up. Take it here. So it has lots of leaf surface. I've actually cut them off way down here, and they've re-sprouted. But anyways, I was left a couple leaves on there. It will get going just fine. This I will remove the lower leaves from. Those little spots is where the roots will come, where those leaf nodes are. So there I have a cutting. Now it doesn't need quite a tall cup, so I will most likely put this into a smaller one. This one I will take and put in my windowsill in my kitchen. And I'll put clean water in there. But that's how I do that to root up a new one. That one in a couple weeks will be ready to pot up like this one. And I have those yellow fungus gnat traps that I put in here right away, because all the potting soils you get that are so moist, they have fungus gnats in them. You're not going to get away from it. How much you treat, at home, whatever, every time you bring in new soil, you bring in new larvae, new fungus gnats. It's just the way it is. Just be prepared to treat for it. The most easiest thing to do is to use the yellow sticky traps, which I do. And I could use this. I save all these kind of things to use as a catch tray, or sometimes I use them as something to pot in. But a lot of times, I need a lot of catch trays a lot of times. And this fits great on a windowsill. Okay, so that one is done. This one is done. I'm just going to pour that into there so it gets more water. And then, as I said, I'm going to take them into the studio cottage. And then I'll come back in a few weeks and show you. But I have overwintered these successfully for a few years. Now, I will admit, the tricolor, I tried to overwinter that one last year. It didn't work. It was too susceptible to the pest pressure. It just withered up and died. Maybe I could try again, be a little more diligent, maybe try to use something that would keep the spider mites off of it. But even when I had it out in the containers, the spider mites really went for it. And I had a big problem with spider mites last year. So there's that. Okay, so that's the update on my sweet potato vine that I am overwintering for spring. And I will share with you this summer what containers I put them in with other things. I've never planted them in the ground. Have you planted them in the ground? I'm sure they do great and grow and fill in as a ground cover. But so let me know in the comments below if you've ever grown it in the ground instead of in containers. So we're back. I don't even know exactly where we left off because, well, it's been a while since I started this. So the reason why I couldn't get to these is in the last 2 weeks, we've gotten 8 feet of snow. I'm not exaggerating. That's the actual amount of snowfall we have received here. And my studio, which is where these were at, in the windowsill in there, I couldn't access it because there's so much snow had come off the roof that it blocked my access. And today my husband finally, I shouldn't say finally because it sounds like he was negligent, but he wasn't. We finally got to the door. So I was able to go in and get the ones I had in there. So these two were the originals. Now I did take lots of cuttings and take them in. So some succumbed to spider mites. I've had this weird little white fly thing that seems to focus on these. And these were the two out of the several that I took cuttings from in the fall and made it through the winter. This is now March 7th. So in the video last time I showed you how I potted up this cutting that I had taken from one of these. And then this one is a cutting I took at that time. Okay, so this was, I'll have to put the dates up. I can't even remember when that was done. But you can see now all the roots on it, and we're going to pot this one up. So this one is still fairly moist, so it didn't dry out a lot, but it's looking a little, sketchy. But I don't think my green studio got that cold. They do not like it below 50 degrees. And when I went in there to get these, it was 60 in there, nearly 60. So it may have gotten cold enough. But as you can see, this one is starting to get growth on it. So all is good. And this one looks like it could be too, right here in the leaf apex there. So this one is doing great. It's just coming along fine, and it's already putting new growth out on the top. So we're doing good. So I just wanted to get this one potted up and get them all watered in. Let me see. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna get another tall pot that I have down here on my shelf somewhere. I have several. And I will just put a little bit in the bottom, a little bit of soil. Now, right now, instead of my DIY potting soil, I'm using what is called Edna's Best by E.B. Stone. And that is because that's a good potting soil that I can source locally. I'm sure wherever you're at, there are good brands that you could utilize if you could not find this one. So I've had great success with this one. So here I am. I'm just going to put this down in here to where the top roots are just below where the soil line is going to be. And then I just fill it up. Now, it was just a few weeks because I did this not too long before we started getting snow. And I think we've been getting snow consistently for 2 weeks. And now we are supposed to get like constant rain for the next 7 days, which is not a good thing. I am on one hand happy because it will melt this snow faster and I will be able to get to my ground, my soil. On the other hand, it means flooding in the valley because all this snow, all the water with the rain melting it that fast rather than slowly where it could absorb, it's going to be a nightmare for those in the valley with flooding. So that's really sad. Okay, so I need a catch tray to water this. I'll use this one. Water this in. And I'm going to go put this back, all of these in the windowsill in my studio. Now, I'm not going to put these, I could put these in on my light shelf where I have my seed starting in my house, but I'm not sure what that little white fly is. And I've tried to make sure I wash off any spider mites, but these seem to be like a magnet for spider mites, and I don't want to maybe infect all my little baby seedlings that would have a hard time fighting off their attack. So these will go back in my studio where there's only my other plants that I have in there are just a few house plants that haven't been bothered by the spider mites transferring from these over to them. And how I combat the spider mites on these is I haven't used my soap spray, which I do have a soap spray I use, but I just spray them off. I put them in the kitchen sink. I spray them off with that little power nozzle that you get in your kitchen, and underside especially, and then put them back out in the studio cottage. So yeah, this one hasn't been watered in a couple of weeks, and it's thirsty. So there is that. That is how I start new cuttings from the sweet potato vines. These are the ornamentals, just so you know. The sweet potato vines from last summer, and that way I don't have to buy more, and these will go into containers, what have you. I'm going to try to grow some in the ground this year as maybe a ground cover and see how that works. I've never tried it. I've always had them in containers and loved it. Alrighty, I hope you enjoyed this video of the results of my overwintering sweet potato vines, the ornamentals, and I hope you come and see me in my next video where I'll be sharing some other garden adventure with you. So give me a thumbs up and or subscribe if you haven't already, and come on back. All right, I'll see you then.